Okay. Peace. How is everybody? Good to see you all. Thank you for joining me. We're going to get started here in a minute. Hold tight. Just about ready. Peace and blessings to you all. Gotta get those iPhones. They're going for the iPhones, guys. Oh man, the purge coming. Okay. Get into it. It is that time. Peace to you all. Well. Where do we begin? We are, we're feeling it, right? The fever pitch is here. Ooh, it's been a doozy. I've been spending quite a bit of time in the trenches, almost literally, being that I am located in an area where buildings are falling around me. This up in flames, as it were. This is madness, man. We've been talking about this. I remember back when the Purge films first started, and back in 2016 and 17 during all of the Black Lives Matter movements. I guess it technically started in 2012, but around 2016 there was a big race programming kind of operation, and I spent a lot of time focusing on that in my videos. It's kind of the first thing when I started my channel, it was one of the first angles I was attacking, because it was so prevalent. It was such an obvious situation, such an obvious program at the time. And it's interesting how, with the push of a button, or of course notification, they've turned it right back on in a split second. They've detracted or derailed our attention from saving lives to possibly ending lives. Isn't it interesting how things have reversed so quickly? Speaks to the idea of the double mind in the time of Gemini, where good and evil play together in this weird smile now, cry later kind of situation. Or is it laugh now, cry later? So yeah, this is happening again. Once again, the exact same program, and nothing's different. They just change the names and the faces. Okay? The program is the same. Same old story. Right? The same emotional appeal. The same lack of reason, logic, and I would even say understanding. Right? And some could say, oh, well, you all just don't understand. Well, today I want to try to possibly make the argument that it's the opposite. In fact, it's you don't understand. And when I say you, I'm speaking to those that are falling for this, especially the youth and those in the protest movement that think they know what this is. And I'm not saying I know everything, but what I am saying is I know a little bit about this. I've been down this road, I was part of these movements in college and even as a youth, man. And I remember I was like 12 years old reading Malcolm X's autobiography. And actually, it wasn't an autobiography. It was Alex Haley's work. But I remember reading that, 12-year-old kid, and just ready to hit the streets, and that kind of propelled me into the world of this type of socialist warrior, in a sense. I've always been very politically minded, and I was taken by this very early, and I know exactly what these children and youth today feel, and I know what they're thinking. The problem is they're coming from and I'm going to be honest, they're coming from a much more misguided purview. They're really looking through not just a darkened lens, but a completely warped and distorted lens. Meaning, my generation, Generation X, we had a far, and even though we're flawed and we've contributed to this immensely, but we had a much, I'd say, more in-depth understanding of history. We paid more attention to these things. We actually lived out a more visceral, corporeal reality. We actually were in touch with our bodies and the physical environment. We actually communicated with people face to face on a regular basis. We were more in touch in this sense. And this is something the new generations just don't have. And unfortunately, it's disconnected them from reality in ways that older generations just do not experience. And I'm not making any value judgments here per se. I'm trying to demonstrate that there's a difference. And that difference describes level of perspective. It describes quality of perspective, not quality of person, not quality of or value of your person. It's just your perspective lacks quality. And my generation and older generations, we saw all of this. I mean, I went through the whole 90s thing. I lived that whole thing through the Rodney King situation, and it is being mirrored. But the problem with this situation is it's completely fabricated. And this isn't to say that hold on, let's get to the main screen here. This isn't to say that the Rodney King didn't have fabrication behind it, because it did. It's hard to prove, right? But I'm not going to go into all of my research on that, but I've done some research, and I feel that I could see a lot of psyop fabrication all throughout the Rodney King situation, very similar to the OJ situation. All of these have to do with mass psychological engineering based on racial programming. Racial conflict has, since Jim Crow, we could go back to Reconstruction, post-antebellum era. All of these things are very typically laid out. It's part of the American fabric. It's part of the socio-political fabric. I mean, at the end of the day, this all boils down to what America was founded on. And it wasn't liberty. It wasn't Christianity per se. It had a lot to do with conflict, individualism, separation, segregation, integration. The fallen man's nature of corruption, destruction, conquering. What do you think this place is? Why would you expect any different for those believers out there? You know what it is. You know what time it is. We don't need an explanation. I find myself a lot of times doing this work, not speaking to the choir, even though I may at times, trying to reach those that have no understanding of these things. Trying to reach those that might be in the dark when it comes to some of this stuff. You never know who's watching. Someone who's completely new to all of this. Someone who's never heard any of these concepts. And maybe won't understand them. Many people could come to the channel and not understand some of these things. Maybe it's hard to follow. But if anything, it's opening your mind up to something that's new. Something that you haven't heard of, or maybe possibly seen, or put in a way that's unique. Possibly turning on a light up there. Possibly inspiring or triggering even. Movement, triggering some form of life down there, somewhere, hopefully. Pushing a button, getting you to maybe look something up for once, getting you to open a book, possibly for once. Trying to figure out this world for yourself for once. Because I'll tell you, the younger generations today, especially those we see involved in this, don't live that life. They're not about that life. They're about the life that is given. They're about the life that is provided. They're about the reality that is provided, that is rolled out for them. On a platter, right? Life is no longer experienced, taken by the horns, fingers dug in. Now life is expected. There's an entitlement to information now. There's this hubris that encapsulates the generations. And everything they see isn't real unless the experts have provided it for them. Unless the mainstream sources or big YouTube channels or the big social media personalities and so-called quote-unquote influencers have said it or provided it. There's a loss of understanding. There's a lack of depth. There's a lack of insight. There's a lack of initiative. There's a lack of accountability. There's a lack of consideration for multifaceted areas in life. People are only seeing things from two perspectives, one perspective, this black and white thinking, erasing the gray in the world. I could go on, but there is a fissure, not just between mankind, but between truth and untruth. Reality is no longer reality. It's so deep that it's to the point where when people speak today, they're not speaking from a position of reality. They're literally speaking and thinking from this perception, this perceived reality that doesn't exist. It's not based in knowledge. It's not based in understanding. It's not based in anything real. And it tends to be moved by emotion. It tends to be just completely moved by emotion and emotion alone. Sentiment. And it's easy. We're human. We're flesh. I mean, it's the easiest thing to fall into, the right brain, the animalistic, mammalian side of ourselves. You know, the child is pretty much in the right brain until about 7 years old, you know, and it seems to be we've, you know, through this form of neoteny, we've kind of have had our development arrested, and we go back into this youthful way of seeing the world as if we're all children, and we can no longer think for ourselves. We can no longer figure out how the world works because we've taken on these new schemas and constructs. We use all of these social media mediated and propagated heuristics to get through life. Madness. It's utter madness. And I'm not trying to sit on some high horse, but I see these things and I'm going to say them. I'm going to speak on these things. I refuse to sit back and watch what I perceive as wrong continue without at least saying something about it, right? At least providing something different, something. Maybe shake things up a bit if I have to. It's going too far. We will be seeing some new stages. The Purge. It's just not a movie. It's a part of human nature. The depths of man. They're being touched. They're being conjured through all of this. And you haven't seen anything yet. You know, I'm speaking about the older generations, you know, when I was younger and those before me that been through this whole system, this whole liberation movements and civil rights and power to the people and all of this. You know, we've done this already. We've done the meetings. We've done the community protests, the marches. We've done this. This has been done over and over and over again. And the thing that's the problem, one of the many problems of today and this new liberated generation that we see taking over society right now via George Floyd's alleged death. The problem here is they don't have any grounds or grounding or footing in history. They read the most basic accounts. They refer to the most surface level people as foundations for their understanding. I mean, Black Panther Party, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. I mean, it's the same old programs, guys. And it's been rolled out this way on purpose. Who do you think structured and shaped and designed the education system? Who do you think shaped and designed Black history studies or Black studies, African American studies? You know, when I was at Cal, I took quite a few African American studies for my own interests. They weren't necessarily part of my degree, but I was taught such bullcrap, such BS. I was programmed there with the most communistic, just progressive neoliberal nonsense you could ever imagine. I'll never forget some of my anthropology professors as well. I mean, the garbage they forced down my throat was it's just madness. And that was then. That was years ago. And I see today, the youth today, they're spewing the same old talking points. They're like literal robots. And it's not their fault, right? I understand. I'm not blaming anybody. There's many corners to this. There's many avenues we can go down. There's so many influential components here. As they say, there's many moving parts, right? We could blame the system, of course, right? That's the easiest thing to do, blame the system. This is the problem. Again, one of many. It's not just that the youth are stuck in this flawed, anachronistic kind of worldview where they don't understand history. They don't see how things have accumulated and formed and shaped over time. Their timeline of reality is flawed. It's been educated or inculcated and indoctrinated into them from a flawed system, from a type of manipulative education source, right? So their foundation in understanding of society and their surroundings is completely flawed to begin with, right? So it's not just the fact that they don't know history, but it's also their philosophy. You know, of course, this is rooted in the nature of man. This is rooted in this new Babylon. I mean, the battle between spirit and flesh, right? We understand biblically that the end of the day, this is actually very, very simple. And this is rolling out as it was always meant to roll out. But there's also, we can look at the humanistic or earthly perspective, right? We could look at more of a philosophical perspective. It really boils down to political philosophy and people's not just misconception of political philosophy, but their complete and utter ignorance to it. People have all these positions and all of these arguments, and they have no understanding of where they come from, as if they think, of course, back to hubris, they have this sense of whatever comes from my mind is fact. I could just spew out and spout all of these, you know, I could just expel all of these random ideas and feelings and political positions without having to study anything or read anything, and just kind of refer to or reference a few things that I've heard, or a few pages I've read in a book, or a few videos I've seen, or a few articles I've seen, or this handful of movies that I've watched. Yeah, don't get it twisted. People get a lot from movies, and they have no understanding of how it all works, how it all plays. They just have this very arrogant perspective on reality, and they don't realize that their political views is not only, it's not just the fact that it's not their own and they've kind of gleaned it from some random source that they've never checked, that they've never contrasted to other views. They've never used this type of analytical thought to figure out where truth actually lies. Truth actually lies for them in what makes them feel better, or what sounds best, what appeases the emotional needs best, right? What connects to their racial identity best, what promotes the liberation of their identities and their peoples, their in-group. It's more about these things. It's much less about truth. It's much less about getting to the truth of things, facing the reality of things. They don't realize that their political positions are not their own, but also they don't understand any opposing positions properly. They don't understand other perspectives that can possibly add some insight to what they're thinking and how they're seeing the world. They just glob on and clamor and just attach themselves to something that feels good, and they run with it. And they have all the arrogance and power and attitude, right, behind it. And they really think that they know what they're talking about. And they don't. They don't. Let me start getting, I'm ranting here. Forgive me. Let me jump in the chat and say what's up to some people real quick. Okay, who's in the chat? Who do we got here? I see Brother Kobe. Good to see you. Natali, good to see you. Ezra, good to see you. Middle Wharf 3, good to see you. One Day, thank you for being with us. Amanda Karate's in the house. Good to see you. So I wanted to start off by just kind of letting some things off of my chest regarding the ignorance that we're experiencing here philosophically. And now we're going to get into what's actually happening. I'm going to show some things, make a few arguments. Just try to share with you guys some of my views. And I don't try, and I am not attempting to come across as if I am the source of all truth. Okay, that's not at all the point. It's I spend my life studying life. I spend my life looking into these things. It's in fact all I know, and I'm just sharing. Could be wrong about something. You could disagree with one of my views. That's fine. That's what life is all about. Coming to an understanding of each other and what this place is. I just want to share. That's it. And we could debate too. I love a good debate. Don't get it twisted. I'm not against that. Right? But that's not the goal. But I understand it's part of this area of work. So I just appreciate you all for being here, whether you agree or not, whether you're a Christian or not. We all have something to bring to the table. And I want to provide that type of table. You know, I love all mankind because all mankind is God's creation. You don't have to agree with me or see things exactly how I see them for me to respect your ability to speak and your ability to exist. We all play a role here. We are all part of something much bigger. And hopefully I can touch on some of that. So again, peace and blessings to you all, and thank you for joining. Once again, so this is deep stuff, guys. We're in a really crazy situation. You know, things are getting nasty. Things are getting messy. And they are releasing the hounds, per se. You know, it's a dark time, and darker times are on the way. And we must prepare, spiritually and mentally and physically. Time. Shout out to Brother Theo of the Unplug 'Em channel. Probably the biggest influence to me. Possibly the only reason I even made a YouTube channel. You know, I learned a lot from him, and part of my recent video was inspired by the work he's done over the years, just the understanding of the occult and the esoteric and the witchcraft, the wizardry behind some of this, you know, these numbers and the seasons and the astrology and all of these things. I just shout out to Brother Theo. He's going to be doing a show tonight where he's going to really be diving into this. Make sure to check that out. Do not miss it. I'm going to be there. That's the Unplugem channel. UNPLUGEM. He's going to be really, really breaking down some of the esoterics behind all of this. Much, much better and far, far greater than I could do. But he's always been a huge inspiration to me. So, if you like my work, of course, we have to thank the Most High God for allowing all of this, but definitely for the Theo for inspiring, because he's an inspiring man, a sage and man of God. So let's get into this, guys. So first, I want to show you something. All right, I got a bunch of stuff to show you, but this is the first part here. So I want to show you a little something that has to do with provocateurs. So all of you guys are well aware that there's a very large provocateur element here. This is clearly controlled. This is clearly part of a bigger scheme that they've been planning for a very long time. We do understand that there is the Antifa movement, which is controlled opposition. I would say probably most likely a CIA faction. There's already been a lot of videos kind of suggesting some of these things, and I want to show you something here. So much to say. I'm trying to gather my thoughts. Basically, we are seeing the black population, the black liberation movement, the plight of the black community. We are once again, as always, witnessing these things being used as a battering ram, as a means to an end. Okay, we are witnessing once again the black body being used as a tool, as a bridge, right? As a gate, right? As a transitional object, as Winnicott would say. This is exactly what we are seeing here. And it always comes in the form of protest. Chaos ensues following, right? And the problem with this is there's genuine people out here. There's genuine people that are really bothered by historical situations. You know, oppressive aspects of the system, systematic so-called racism, right? These types of things are real. There are inbuilt, oppressive forms of policy and structure baked in our society. It's part of the American fabric, okay? And it's not just for blacks. There's all types of forms of oppression and all types of forms of people, but it's a part of human nature. I don't buy into the race bait. I don't buy into the flesh and this mental trap that comes with racial identity. I do understand it is utilized as a weapon to divide and to oppress and to create hierarchy, but hierarchies exist in nature. Okay, so I want to just lay that out first. If you look at history, it doesn't matter where at or what peoples, there's always been this relationship, this hierarchical relationship of the haves and the have-nots, the underclass, the overclass. This has always existed throughout time, and it is an aspect and part of mankind's nature. I always refer to the idea of thrownness. Maybe I don't refer to it enough, but Heidegger, a philosopher, would always speak about this idea called thrownness, and it's an existential perspective of how strange and confusing and even disturbing it is to think about the fate of your existence. The thrownness, he meant, in a sense, it's as if you were just thrown into space and time and given this body and this experience and this life and family and moment in history, this moment in time, or this geographic area, this culture. You've chosen none of these things. You've never had the opportunity to sit down and pick these things and and vote for anything. You don't pick your parents. You don't pick your living situation, your economical or financial situation. You're kind of just thrown into the world. And of course, Heidegger's perspective lacks the spiritual understanding and the true foundation of this, which is the will of God and the nature of mankind, right? This whole soteriology behind it, right? It's something we will never understand. And in a sense, this is what Heidegger was questioning. You know, what is God's relation to man, and what is man's relation to his life in terms of God? How did we get here? Why are we here? Why is my life this way? Why am I this race? Why am I in this culture? Why did I grow up in this type of family? Why did I come up in this type of financial situation? Why did I lack these things? Or why did I have abundance in these things? This is thrownness, this question of being thrown into reality and almost the angst and anxiety and pressure that just thinking about it produces. I think this has an aspect to do with what we're experiencing, especially as a Black person or anybody else. We didn't ask for this experience, and it isn't fair to blame others for your experience. There's more than their specific behaviors and attitudes and actions that play a role. There's a multitude of things. There's history, there's physics, there's nature, nurture, fate. There's so many components, again, so many moving pieces. For you to narrow things down to the actions and behaviors of one racial group is absolutely ignorant and missing the picture. Again, this goes right back to the lack of foundation, the lack of knowledge and understanding and historical understanding, philosophical understanding, self-understanding, knowledge of self, and not in any New Age sense. I mean, understanding who you are, your purpose here, and how everything works. It's not as if we'll ever know how everything works, but we do need to have some foundation to at least address it. And most people don't have one, especially those that are in this situation acting like, crazy people. So we're stuck in a pickle here, right? We want to blame the system, but then we want to beg the system to help us out. Can't have both. It's cognitive dissonance. It's insanity. This is just an example of where we're at, right? So we have this provocateur thing. Let me get back to provocateurs. But we also have genuine people that are part of this. People that are genuinely moved. People that are empathic. People with real empathy that are moved by the death of anyone, but definitely moved by the death of a man that's part of a historically oppressed group. Again, in this moment in time, go to another part of history. There were just as many other types of oppressed people. There's nothing inherently wrong about being oppressed. It may not be great. You may have been thrown into this world and happen to be part of this certain group that was oppressed at this certain point in time. That's life. That's life. No one's going to just fix that for you. Read a little history, learn a little bit about humankind over the centuries and ages. This is an ongoing, never-ending experience for the human being. You just happen to be stuck in a time in a certain group that is experiencing it as well. We got to just be real with what life is here. And these are the perspectives that are lacking. So we have these genuine people out here that are moved by this. But then we also have a demonic aspect of this. We have people that are capitalizing on this. And then lastly, we have the provocateur. So I call this like a chaotic trinity. Right? These three groups that are kind of working together. A type of coalescence of systemic discontent, if you will. Right? These different groups that all share a type of discontent. This type of discontent from systematic trauma within the society, right? And they aren't working together, but they are indirectly working together, creating this type of chaotic trinity that is producing the bedlam that we are all experiencing right now. And one group is the genuine minded, or the genuine misled generation. These are the people that are out there actually, trying to express their pain and empathizing with the suffering and marching for good reasons, okay? They may be misled, though. That is the thing. They're misled, but their hearts are in the right place. Okay, the genuine misled generation. And the second is the demonic, and that's the demonic misled generation. And those are the ones you see looting. These are the ones you see breaking into property, burning down society. These are the wrecking balls of this whole thing. These are the true conduits to change, the demonic misled generation, because these are the ones that are actually going to bring the next stage, which is militarization, right? That's the technocracy needs to subdue the people. And in order to do that, you have to have the military power come in, because that's all that really that's what structures a society for the most part is military, education, and the cathedral, the church, and of course the governing body, right? Monarchy, right? So the military is an extremely, I'd say, it's the management system. It's the physical management aspect of a society, opposed to the physical and mental and educational management you get, and then of course the authority, the order that comes from the top. So that this demonic generation, these kids out here causing the real chaos, they are the ones that are going to contribute to the real hammer that's going to come down on everybody. And they're being used purposely, and I'd say successfully. Then you have the establishment provocateurs, which add on to that. So you have these two types of forces that are really destroying things on purpose to bring in a new age, to bring in a new order. One is doing it because they have, it's involuntary. The demonic misled generation, it's an involuntary act. They're lashing out. They're expressing themselves through destruction. But the other, the establishment provocateurs, they are also destroying, but they are doing it voluntarily. They are actually contracted. They are actually part of a contracted destruction, right? So this is the chaotic trinity. We get the genuine misled generation, the demonic misled generation, and of course the establishment provocateurs. Now I want to show you the little clip here, which seems to be someone who's part of the genuine misled generation. This is a genuine black woman that is seeing some of the effects of this, but also noticing that she's kind of pointing out the establishment provocateurs, and she doesn't necessarily say it, but this is a good example of the disconnect, not the disconnect, but this is an example of, I'd say, a problem that will be coming up very soon, that will actually be contributing to the destruction. Because once the genuine misled generation wakes up to the provocateurs, we will see a new war, right? A new war against the genuine supporters of black liberation, against these provocateurs, Antifa, for example. So I'm going to open this up here. Let's see. Let me make sure the volume's up. I want you guys to see this here. This is pretty interesting. I was sent this recently, and I thought it was interesting. Check this out. And some of you might have seen it. A lot of this stuff is going viral right now. But just check this out. Check this out.
I can't believe that. Now they circling. See, then look. I want you to know this is not. Don't police people's way of
Let me tell you this.
themselves.
This is not a black woman who's put in Black Lives Matter. I just want you to know that when Right, but y'all doing that for us, and we ain't asked you to do that. Listen, don't spray stuff on here when they gonna blame black people for this, and black people didn't do it.
I'm really feeling this right here, because this is exactly what those that are genuine about change and actually truly believe in the positive effects of protest, those who truly believe in the protest, see through this. And look at these girls. They're very likely some Antifas. They could be some paid provocateurs, right? But they could be some also genuinely misled generations of non-black origin. But it's the fact that I don't really want to get into the whole racial thing, even though we have to talk about this stuff, right? We have to talk about this stuff. And I could agree with this. It's like, you have no business even addressing this issue in this kind of way. In fact, especially breaking the law in my name, and I'm just going to kind of speak to this. You have no business doing this. You're in the wrong place. You're dealing with the wrong thing, and you're going all about it the wrong way. Putting up spray painting Black Lives Matter. You're adding to the problem. And in fact, we're going to get blamed for it. We're going to get blamed for it. You have a lot of blacks out here. We're not down with it. We don't agree with this type of behavior. We don't support this type of protesting, which is not protesting at all. It's vandalism. And you see these little privileged young women in their little skinny jeans and their leather boots, all decked out, probably all, straight from Beverly Hills or wherever they're from. This is adding to the problem. And I agree with the sentiment here. And I think it's good to expose some of this. Again, I don't support Black Lives Matter. It's a fraudulent CIA operation as well. But I'm speaking to those that are trying to make. I'm speaking to those that are trying to say something about what we have noticed to be somewhat of a historical oppressive situation between law enforcement and the black population. Even though I personally believe it's been exaggerated, I believe it's been magnified through reporting. I believe it's been culturally magnified in a way that is not honest, and I believe it's been used as a way to control the minds of the black population, as well as create a type of black on blue war that can be triggered anytime they want to derail, confuse, or distract a movement, especially when we need to be coming together, right? Especially when we need to be coming together as Christians, as Americans. We need to be coming together and fighting against this huge technocratic system that is trying to turn us into feed. Right? At a time when we need to come together, it's very easy for them to use these long-term historical programs to trigger us into conflict. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Let's continue.
If we wanted you to do it, we would have asked. They not going to show y'all faces when they see that on their building. They going to blame that on us. Y'all are part of the problem. News come on, they gonna say we did that. We didn't do that. Stuff like this ain't right. Stuff like this ain't right. That's what the problem is. We out here standing together peacefully, protesting without.
Mind you, people are peacefully protesting. This is not about a bunch of animals in the streets robbing people, killing people, running into targets, and that's not what this all is. That's a group. That's a certain group. That is a certain facet of young people. Call them the demonic misled generation. That's a specific facet of our generations right now that are doing those things. But there is a multitude of others that have more of a thought out, reasonable way of going about this. So we cannot create a monolith out of this. And it seems like the black population is always addressed as if it's a monolith. And many of us could probably make that mistake at times, but I know that that's not true, even though I know there is this kind of monolithic cultural component that is usually based in mainstream media only. I understand it's not necessarily a real thing. It's a perceived real thing that actually does have real effects on people's lives. It changes the way they act and the way they live. But at the end of the day, I do understand that we're all different. All blacks are not the same. That is a complete misconception, and it has been repetitively conditioned into society over time, and it creates these stereotypical perspectives of what black people are. And the same has been done to whites. Okay, of course, there's different reactions and different outcomes and results and influences of these things, of course. But still, we're not all the same. You know what I'm saying? So we got to be real about some of these things.
Any problems? You got people of all races spraying on buildings talking about Black Lives Matter. That ain't even us. You got police officers coming to a peaceful protest spraying gas on us. We ain't even did nothing. Don't let the media fool you. When they see the vandalism on these places, know that it wasn't us. And when you see stuff like that, you're supposed to stand up and say something. Don't spray.
All right. Looks like we're having a little issue there. So I got that one there. I got some more though. So I thought this was really interesting because people are waking up, man. Even those that are deceived by this are still waking up to some of the side operations, right? This whole provocateur thing. All right, so let's see. Are we still on? I don't want to having a few hiccups here with the signal. I want to make sure we're still going strong here. Let me refresh this. Okay. All right, we're good. Wow, we got 425 in the house. Thank you all for joining. Got a packed house here. Okay. Let's get busy. I got a lot to show you guys. So now, let's go into, which one do I want to show you guys? Hold on a second. Come on. I have so many windows open. This thing's acting a little funny. All right. There we go. All right. So I want to show you. Now let's go into some of the demonic misled generation. So we're going to see some of the damage. Let's look at, this is in California. It's my hometown. This is where, I've spent a lot of my life, and, I'm witnessing all of this happen, and it's just crazy. It's crazy to see all of this, and it's really sad, and it's really, I don't know, man. It's unfortunate to see this happen in my area. But check it out. Let's just get an idea of the results of some of this. And this was from yesterday, I believe. See here.
ABC 7 Mornings.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Liz Kreutz. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday, May 30th. We continue to follow the protests that have happened overnight in the East Bay and South Bay over the death of George Floyd, and we're seeing the aftermath now this morning. Of course, George Floyd is the man who died in Minneapolis police custody earlier this week. That sparked nationwide protests. In Oakland, the protesters seemed to disperse around 1:30 this morning. That's after about 5.5 hours of marching and demonstrations. Police say that they are are investigating as well an incident involving 2 contract security officers for the Federal Protective Service who were shot. They say one of the officers died from his injury. The other officer is in stable condition. This happened at the federal building on Clay Street at about 9:45 last night. The FBI says a person inside a vehicle began firing gunshots at contract security officers, and police say that they are investigating still to determine whether the shooting is related to the protests. This did happen in the area and around the time of those protests. Now, the Federal Protective Service, which falls under the Department of Homeland Security, provides security and law enforcement services at U.S. government facilities. Oakland police, they say that there are no current protests going on right now this morning, but officers have still been patrolling the streets through the night.
This is crazy. What we're seeing is utter chaos. Now, these groups, and again, this is a certain faction or facet of this protest movement here. Okay, this is like the bad apples. Okay, these kids here, it's kind of blurry. I'm sorry.
Protests turned violent after demonstrators.
These kids here, they're all young. These are all young kids, man. White, black, brown, purple. Right? It's not about race anymore. This is about a new world. This is about a new generation. Okay, and this generation, especially those that are a part of this facet, have given up on the world. They've given up on life. In fact, I'll argue that they're no longer living in reality. They're no longer living in the real world, nor are they actually experiencing life. They live in what we could call the hyper reality, which is a remnant or a result or the residue, the residual experience of virtual reality. These kids, I'd even call them children because they're not any older than 25 for the most part. They live their lives completely through social media. And even when they're engaging in the real world, they're simultaneously engaging with their phones and taking pictures or whatever, right? Posting, responding, whatever, right? It seems to be this attachment thing with these devices. Not only are they physically attached to these devices, but they're mentally and spiritually attached to these devices as well. And what we see here is a type of virtual video game becoming reality. And these children no longer have, again, back to Anomi, they no longer have this moral foundation. They no longer have this understanding of what's virtuous, what's right, and what's true. And life has now become a video game. Have you ever seen kids that have the gall, that have the gall to attack cops, to attack police? Like the arrogance, right? It's mania, right? At the same time, when you think about it, it's like, wow, they're completely gone. They're taking this death of this man, and they're exploiting it to behave and act out. This is acting out. In psychology, there's a term called acting out. It's part of narcissism. It's part of CPTSD. It's an aspect of abuse. People have been abused, right? People who have pathological personalities. There's this thing called acting out, where it's a type of defense mechanism. So whenever a pain or any discontent is experienced, the only real, the only way for them to appease the pain or to withstand the guilt or the shame that is felt, they act out, right? And many times it's aggressive and violent. And that's exactly what we're seeing now on a mass scale. We're seeing all of these people acting this way. So it really speaks to this idea of a type of mass psychosis, a type of pathological issue culturally, and I'd say just throughout the population, especially when you look at these specific facets of lost children, because that's what these kids are. Where's your parents? What is your relationship with your parents, right? I doubt there really is one. And we could also look at the unsuccessful attempts to parent, right? In the lives of their parents. So there's many things that play a role. It's not just the system. It's not just society. Okay, there's also the parent aspect to it. There's a lot of things to it. But again, these children, though they're children, they're old enough to know right from wrong. So there is a sense, or there is accountability involved here. And accountability has left the chat, guys. It's flown out the window. Right, these kids
clashed with Oakland police officers and shut down Interstate 880 for some time last night. There was that dramatic video. You're seeing some of that here. Hundreds started marching around.
They're getting on people's cars. Look at this poor guy here.
They made their way onto the interstate as officers monitored the situation from afar. There they are, getting onto a big rig truck. That man there,
he's just smiling,
driving the truck, stuck in the midst of all of this. Getting onto a big rig
truck. Poor guy. You know, what he's doing here is he knows that if he does the wrong thing, if he doesn't support this, if he doesn't show some type of support for this movement, they're going to destroy his truck. He's probably like, these damn kids. But at the same time, he's like, or maybe he does support the movement, right? But at the same time, this is wrong what these kids are doing. This is disrespectful. This is this man's job. This is his business. This is how he makes a living. It's just...
There they are, getting onto a big rig truck. That man there driving the truck, stuck in the midst of all of this. Then the demonstration did continue to escalate, and about an hour later,
children,
when officers who lined up to block police headquarters, they sprayed tear gas while protesters set off fireworks and threw bottles.
No understanding about anything.
Multiple officers were injured. You're seeing inside, I think, a CVS here.
This is the result of the virtual reality through social media. I'll never forget in 2012 when Instagram became popular. I knew it was going to be an issue. I just felt how addictive and interesting it was. I knew that this is going to turn into something. These kids, even my generation, we were hoodlums, man. I mean, we did a lot of dirt. I'm going to tell you. But we would have never behaved in these ways. We would have never behaved in these ways.
Some looting. They say objects were thrown by protesters, which injured some officers. Those officers, the condition of them is not known at this time.
I used to go to Walgreens all the
Oakland
time.
Police, though, they have released this preliminary information this morning from the demonstrations. They say as of now, they know that 60 looters were detained for further investigation. 18 people were arrested by Oakland police. 4 people were arrested by outside agencies, so 22 arrests total. 6 Oakland police officers were injured, and 7 outside agency law enforcement were injured. So 13 officers injured. Oakland police say that there is significant property damage to businesses in the downtown area of Oakland after these protests.
Yeah, that's right, Liz. I have to tell you, block after block, the damage here in downtown Oakland is extensive, and it is remarkable. Take a look. This is the Target here at 27th and Broadway. It was looted last night as protesters broke in. Protesters angry over the death of George Floyd.
They're not angry over the death of George Floyd. Okay. Those that are doing this, these aren't the genuine misled generation, which are the people that are angry over the death of another black man at the hands of a cop, allegedly. Because I don't know how much I believe about this whole story to begin with. But trust me, those people that are genuinely fighting for change and that actually are fed up with hearing this kind of stuff, they're not the ones doing this. This is the demonic misled generation. This is the bad apples, right? So we got to make that clear. There's always going to be that group. And it's unfortunate that not only are they getting most of the airtime, which I also believe is by design, but it has the biggest effect on everything. It actually ruins any opportunity for positivity. I don't know why I'm buffering here. Sorry, guys.
There was thousands of people on the street last night, and up until 30 minutes ago when we showed up, there was still active looting taking place. Oakland police arrived here, I'd say about 15 minutes ago, and chased a few people away, detained several people as well. But now Oakland police are inside the store, which is flooded, as you can tell. The damage goes on block after block. Car dealerships, retail establishments.
A number of businesses have broken windows, graffiti is everywhere. And let's start with the most important story right now would be the shooting at the Federal Building. The contracted security
killing
guard
people.
would be the shooting at the federal building.
They're literally killing people. All right, people are dying now. Right? There's now residual death involved now as well. Right? People are dying. They are killing people, and more will suffer. More will become victim. And where does this come from? You know, what do I spend so much time making videos on? A great deal, actually, is this aspect of culture, right? And I know that's not what all that it is. There's many moving parts, of course, but you know, it's the spirit behind this nihilist aestheticism, which I discussed in my the strangest youth culture in history video, where I really try to break down this death culture, right, that creates this type of demonic, misled generation facet, right? These kids that have nothing to live for. They see life through the lens of sex, drugs, and attention, right? Social media attention, fame, so-called. And they're no longer living in reality. Everything's so virtual. They lose connection to humanity. They don't really get the importance of being a good person, or being fair, or being polite, or being righteous. You know, everyone is like an object to them. Everything becomes an object in a virtual video game world, and life becomes a video game. And you could just go and bash in windows and loot and rob and steal and even kill, right?
In a drive-by shooting, someone drove by and shot that security guard and another man, and that security guard did die. There is an incredible FBI presence surrounding the...
And of course, this is mainstream news media. This could all be another part of the op, right? This could just be stoking the flame. But I actually am right in this area, so I could figure out, or I could make a few phone calls and find out exactly what happened here, and possibly by who. But I'm not trying to deal with any of that. I'm going to take it for what it is, just because I know Oakland, and this kind of stuff happens all the time. There's nothing really new, not necessarily in this part of Oakland, but there's in reaction to this so-called killing, it's kind of surprising to see them take it here, right in front of the Ronald Dome. It's like, wow, this is getting crazy, man. And it's really unfortunate to see. It hits so close to home.
Ron Dellum's federal building at 12th and Clay. Many streets there are still closed. Jefferson is closed between 12th and 14th. And
I don't know why I'm buffering here. But let's see. Was there another part in there? Yeah, this one's crazy. This one, it's just kind of shocking, just because these are just very familiar locations to me, so I'm just sharing. But look at what they've done.
Damage yourself what it looked like. Next door is a Wells Fargo bank, completely trashed. It looked like they set fire to the ATM. Everywhere around this area, you see burned debris as they started fires last night. I've seen a couple of burned out cars around the downtown Oakland area. As I ventured up Broadway, we went to Mercedes-Benz of Oakland. That's where just 8 hours ago, they were burning a vehicle inside the Mercedes-Benz dealer. We were able to see the black car that was torched. It's kind of hard to see from the sidewalk, but you could smell this putrid plastic odor of the parts of the car that melted in the fire.
Cars inside the building.
There were also 6 total cars on the showroom floor, all heavily damaged by the demonstrators. And we talked to the manager of Mercedes-Benz Oakland. Here's what he had to say.
I don't know. It's just it's disappointing.
Yeah, he got insurance though, so
what's
I
going
don't think
on
he's going to be missing
right
a whole lot. But look at this. Just check out this imagery. Look at this.
None.
It's amazing how this is just
doesn't need
allowed.
this.
Look at these kids, man.
All right, and so
Look at
that
this.
was the sales manager of Mercedes-Benz,
man.
and they're devastated, of course. We
it's a
did
sight
the
to
math.
see.
Each one of those cars was worth at least $50,000. So there's at least, you know, that the car that was burned was probably destroyed. So, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage there, broken windows. Up the street at another vehicle dealership on Auto Row is the Honda dealership. And they're out there this morning. They're cleaning up the glass.
This is like my hood, man. It's crazy to see this.
On the commercial corridor of Broadway in downtown Oakland. I talked to an employee who was inside the store. Yes, the inside of the Honda dealer was trashed.
Yeah, I could care less about the actual property.
Damaged,
you know, these are like
damage on the showroom
multinational corporations. It's just I guess what's most it's just like amazing to witness. You know, I don't necessarily even feel bad for these companies, right? Because they're just vultures and vampires to begin with, but it's just the nature of it all. It's what's next, you know, like if they can do this, what's next, right? So I don't really care so much for these like mainstream companies, but then there's the part that's a little saddening. It's when the small businesses are hurt by this, right? And that's the part that I struggle with, because what we find here is like now these groups are attacking small businesses, right? Very innocent, hardworking people. We'll get into that in a second, but just look at more of this. And I'm not, the reason I'm showing this isn't to sensationalize or to like point fingers, but I think these are just good examples of a lot of things I've been discussing in my videos for a long time, and the toxicity of the generation. And again, this is just one aspect of the whole generation. Everyone isn't like this. There's a lot of very good young people out in the world, you know, level-headed, logical, and reasonable, and even Christian young people in the world. Many follow this channel. But this group does make up a rather significant percentage. And that's the part that really disturbs me. I see it every day. Okay, I see it every day. I'm surrounded by this culture. And it's toxic. It's parasitic. It's demonic, and it's empty. It's literal death. It's walking and breathing death. As oxymoronic as that sounds, it's better the undead. Okay, we're dealing with the undead, and I'm not trying to blame it on them. It's not all their fault, of course. We understand there's a lot going on here, but can't help point it out. Can't help but witness it, man. Look at all for the Nikes. I think this is Nike. Again, it goes right back to the consumerist culture, to where life boils down to a value that can only be described in material goods. Oh, I got my Nikes. Oh man, why am I buffering? Come on, I am sorry. Look at this thing. Look at little kids here. These are kids. I think these kids look about 12 or 13. Where are your parents? Where are your damn parents, man? In fact, we could blame a lot of this on the parents, right? Broad daylight. Wow. Broad daylight. Madness. So we got that one. I have this one video of this man being attacked in Dallas, and it's extremely violent, and it's gruesome, and it's kind of disturbing. I was going to show it, but I don't think I'm going to show it, just because it makes me feel some kind of way, and I'm not trying to put that on you guys, so I won't show it. But there was this beating of this man, and there's mixed reports. What some people are saying he attacked first. It doesn't matter. It's so sad, and I guess he's still alive. He's in critical condition. But oh my goodness, he's just leaking all over the place. Just leaking. And it's just disgusting. And they're all young. You know, it's brutal, but it just gives you a glimpse into the future. Gives you a glimpse. And I'm not going to show it. It's too painful to watch. I don't want to trigger anybody in that kind of way, because it is a bit triggering. Here's another example of the gall, right? Let's see, check this. And, you know, we understand there's bad people everywhere. There's bad cops, there's good cops. There's, you know what I'm saying? This whole idea of all cops are bad and now we have agency to abuse them is just so stupid. They're just throwing stuff at him. I'm just buffering like crazy. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what's wrong with my internet. Look at this. Look at this guy. You're such a tough guy. Such a tough guy. And you're running. It's just madness. Just an example, you know. I'm going to tell you, you know what's going to be a result? We are going to see cops fight back. And then it's going to get nasty. They might get the okay too. I think they're getting the, I think they're being instructed to actually fall back and stand down. But you better believe when these cops start fighting back, there's going to be real bloodshed. And that might even kick it into higher gear. That might kick it into the next phase to where they start bringing in military forces. And then they really start just taking people out. You know, it's just going to take one martyr. Let one of these people, one of these protesters die in this battle here. Even if it's accidentally. It's going to escalate to a level that we've never seen. These are going to be worse than the Detroit riots. This is going to be, it's going to be intense. It truly is. And I could see that easily happening. All it takes is one martyr. Look at this. This is disturbing. Now, I think I could show you this. This is bad, but it's not nearly as bad as the other one. There's no blood in this one, at least. But look at what they're doing. Look at what they're doing at cops. Violence is never the answer, okay? And the foundation of this is a lack of understanding, a lack of true respect for humanity in general. You know, it's very childish. It's like, just because I disagree with you or just because I'm mad at you, I could physically assault you. That's not right. That's never right. It's never okay. This whole eye for an eye thing. It's so ignorant. And you realize these are not 7-year-old children, but they behave as though they were. Check this. This is messed up, man. I don't care. I don't care. This is wrong. There's never an excuse for this. Oh man, come on. Wow. Wow. Yeah, okay. Sorry for the language. But yeah, they're basically just dragging and beating these cops here. And I guess it's, you know, this whole eye for an eye. You know, you guys hurt us, we can hurt you now. It's never the answer, you know, and it's only going to bring more trouble. In fact, this gives the elite and the establishment, this gives them the excuse to bring in the bigger weapons. It gives them the excuse to bring in National Guard and real martial law. And we're all going to be affected by this. You know, they're giving full on curfews now in cities. Isn't it interesting how they now have reason to just lock everything down? They don't even need COVID anymore to lock us down. Right now, these proxy warriors are giving them exactly what they need to completely shut things down. Imagine what they could roll out during this time. Imagine what they're already signing in policy right now under the noses of all of these people. Imagine. I even heard that they're using contact tracing to trace people involved. And it's just crazy how this all seems to be so strategically set up, right? Oh, man. So here's another one. This is a pretty big crowd here. This is an example of all of those that are really part of this. This is probably one of the biggest groups I've seen so far. This one's pretty interesting. Check this out. Mass, man. Look at that. Wow. Is that it? It's a short clip. Yeah, very short clip. But look at all those people. Look at that. Look how deep this is. Look at that. Like a few blocks, possibly. Wow. Interesting, isn't it? It's like we can get together for this mainstream news promoted death, but no one comes together like this when it comes to actually assisting or helping out impoverished and oppressed communities. You know, there was a woman recently murdered, I believe by cops. No mentioning of it. You know, there are 2 women killed in a shooting in Chicago. I think a few nights ago. 2 young women, teenage women, murdered in cold blood. But I guess the fact that it wasn't a white person that did it, why discuss it, right? It's not important. There's young children, babies, between 1 and 5 years old that are killed weekly, especially in Chicago and other parts of the East Coast. Young black children murdered in their own communities. No discussion, no mentioning. You know, I have a problem with this selective moral outrage. Because empathy has to be authentic to be empathy. So when you display empathy for conditional reasons, under the condition of police brutality, or under the condition of white race, the hands of the white race, that's not real empathy. That's not authentic. That's not truly caring about black people. Because if you really cared about black people, you would care about all the issues going on in the black so-called community, even though there is no black community, first off. We use that term, just to simplify things and come from objective positions. But, there's many facets and parts of the black community. There's many black communities, mind you. There's a very forthright and educated and successful aspect of the black community that's completely ignored. It's unknown, right? Not always what you see on TV. But I personally believe this facet of the black community is superimposed on the world to give this false sense of what blackness and what the black community actually is. Because it objectifies the community. It becomes an object to be used. It becomes a means to an end. Right? It becomes something to use or to use to manipulate. And that's what we're seeing. And all of these people out here spraying Black Lives Matter on walls that aren't even black. Never stepped foot in the hood in their life. But they'll be the first to say, oh, I have a black friend. My best friend is black. My cousin's friend's brother's boyfriend is black. And all this virtue signaling. I'm so sick and tired of it. It's so stupid. But thanks to social media, thanks to neoliberal, progressive, predominant culture, it becomes gospel. It becomes this new badge of honor. And it's only that because it's so repeated. It's a meme. Memetics. It's passed on and circulated so much. It establishes itself, and it becomes a thing. It becomes part of culture. It's now, holding a Black Lives Matter, sign, or saying, let's help Black people. I care for Black people. Now you're a good person now. You have these people who are now speaking out for Black lives that don't know Black people, have never stepped foot in a Black community. And in fact, if they did, they'd probably be afraid. They'd probably be the first ones to roll up their window and lock their doors. They don't even know how to have a conversation with Black people because they've never had the experience, yet they're the first ones to complain about oppression. And in fact, I argue that it's narcissistic. It's a self-gratifying situation to make themselves feel better about who they are. Because they're so lost and they're so empty, they need to join some movement to feel something. Disgusting. I've seen it my whole life. I've had friends, people want to treat you different because you're Black, right? You get all this fake extra empathy because you're Black, right? And you know damn well it ain't real. You don't care. You don't care about these things. It's about you. This is about you. It isn't about me. It isn't about, the racial group I come from. This is about you. This is about your movement. And it's always been. The Black population has always been used as a tool, as an object, objectified from the moment we hit shores. This is just a reality. I'm not sitting here trying to make some racial appeal. I'm just being real about history. Now, let's be real. Does this mean we now have the excuse and the opportunity to flail on the ground screaming victim? Are we now entitled to whatever we want because we've suffered? Absolutely not. I think that's foolish. We're human just like everybody else. We're experiencing the thrownness of life like everybody else. I'm going to be real. And I say that figuratively because I attempt to be consistent in that sense. But, many of us Black folks don't really know other folks or take time to learn other folks or to learn other communities. Coming from the Bay Area, born and raised, I've always been around all types of cultures. I'm very familiar with many different types of people and the way they live and their histories. I've been exposed. I've been raised in a world that's just a quilt with all of these different shapes and colors and fabrics. I've been exposed enough to have some sense of understanding that, hey, other people suffer too. And I'm not going to, for 1 second, get into some oppression Olympics and try to see who suffered more. But there's other groups that have suffered, and it's across the board, man. And it's almost like we want to play this role like our plight is the most important one, and it's the only one that matters. When we know nothing about the third world. The third world, I'm going to tell you right now, Black Americans, we are so privileged when we contrast our experience to the third world. We don't know what oppression is. We have no idea what true oppression is. And until you get out in the world, which I have, I've been to the third world. I've been on the third world's grounds. I've ate with third world people. Until we get out and see the world, or at least try to learn the world through learning, we're going to be stuck in this bubble. We're going to be stuck in this little bubble, this hubris of black victimhood, as if we're the only ones that have been wronged, as if we're the only ones that have felt hurt. And we're going to continue to be the object for this establishing technocracy to utilize, to fulfill their needs, to fulfill their goals. You think anything is changing for the black community? Do you think anything has changed for the black community? It hasn't. It's progressed. Yes, of course it has. This ain't the 60s. In many ways, we're worse off than, say, we were in the 40s. But that has to do with culture. It's not the system. Because there's many aspects of the black community that have been thriving for generations, but are unheard of and never, ever considered. We only focus on the dark sides. We only focus on the most impoverished areas, right? The black population in the United States is extremely diverse. And it may not be the case in certain parts of America, say the South or the Midwest. You may see more of a homogenous black community. But I'm from the West Coast. And here, we are multifaceted. We've seen a lot of things in some areas, especially in the Bay Area. I don't know a whole lot about LA. But we have our own cultures here. Now, we do kind of all fall under this umbrella of postmodernism, which is something I rail against constantly. But the blackness, the quote unquote black people that you see in all of this, it's fake. It's not real. It's a figment. And this figment is precisely what controls the minds, the actions, and the behaviors of all of these SJW protesting, so-called altruistic individuals that feel something for the black people. Oh, white guilt. Oh, why do you need white people to do anything for you? This is the external locus of control, the vanishing and void of agency, the blaming everything on the system, white people. Do you have no agency? Are you nothing? Are you an extension of something else? In fact, many live this way, and this is a big problem. This is a big part of the problem. This is all flesh at the end of the day. And this is something that I typically completely, disregard because I understand the levels of things. But sometimes we got to talk about this stuff. I spent a lot of my life studying this stuff. I was a young socialist at one point in my life. I went to University of California, Berkeley, okay? The belly of the beast of this postmodern neoliberal progressive madness. I went through the indoctrination, the MK Ultra programming. But I've awakened, okay? All praises to the Most High God. I've awakened. And this is a program. This is a mass scale program. And it's effective and it's succeeding, and we're watching it in real time. And and this is another thing. We could even look at some of these focused aspects of the black community, the more impoverished areas that I've spent quite a bit of my life in. You don't have to come from an affluent place to have a head on straight, to know a little something. I'm just an average person. I'm not saying anything great about me, but I didn't grow up in that kind of environment. I came from nothing like most people. Sometimes God moves through certain people differently. I don't know. Sometimes nature, right? We're born into this world with some tools that, might, whatever. Who knows how it all works? It's the thrownness, right? It's this, we don't understand how all of this works. But you will find some of the most brilliant people. You will find some of the most interesting people, thoughtful, intriguing, curious, right in the hood. No, okay. They might not be on every corner. But we can't put black people in a box, man. That's what the media does. That's what society does. That's what this neoliberal progressive education does. It paints a picture of a black person as if it's this caricature. And it's wrong. It's inaccurate. All right, I'll get off of this whole thing. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but my point is this. You have the media, you have the left, you have the progressive movement playing this role as if they're the spokespersons and saviors of the oppressed black population on earth. They take up arms and they create this movement and this role of authority. It's hubris. And they claim this leadership, this altruistic role of God-ordained leadership, and they're going to fix things. They never do. They never fix anything because they don't address the problems because they don't want to fix anything. They don't want to help the black community. They don't care about the black community. And I will argue, we don't need your help. In fact, that's the reason nothing is changing, because we're constantly asking for help. Instead of taking agency, instead of being accountable and considering how can we make a damn change around here. And we start first in our own damn communities, in our own families. White people ain't in your home raising your damn kids. That's where it starts. That's where everything begins. Where do you think culture is learned? Where do you think God is discovered? In the family. And we could go all down the line of how the systematic socio-political destruction of the family that has affected the black population, I'd say most. But that's a whole other story. We won't spend any time on that. But there's things that can be addressed to make real changes for all populations in all groups. It's transracial. It doesn't matter who you are. You fix home. You incorporate God into your life. You give yourself some foundation. A real philosophy, the knowledge and wisdom of God. You employ that, implement that into your family. Becomes a tradition. Create strong communities with morals, with ethics, with proper epistemology, with real understanding and education. Now, this isn't easy to do. This is idealistic, of course. But these things can be done. But they're derailed. They're ignored. And they aren't considered because they spend too much time on worrying about what police are doing, worrying about what the so-called white man is doing. This is a game. And you are being played. White, black, purple, yellow, brown. You're all being played. And you're all being played against each other. And we've given up our ability to think for ourselves. And this has been systematic, and this has mainly been achieved through the type of compulsory education we go through from, kindergarten. This learned ignorance, this learned codependence. And coming up in an impoverished area, coming up without much, makes things more difficult. It does. It does. I didn't go to school in the neighborhood I grew up in. I was blessed in that sense. I actually went to a good school. I had to go through a lot to get there. But I know for me, even though education is BS across the globe for the most part, education does have some type of it does have its positive influences, man. It to a degree, right? If anything, just to teach you a little discipline, possibly, maybe what's the word I'm looking for? Open your mind a little bit more, you know, the things you normally wouldn't be interested in. Anyways, I'm getting off topic here. So what are we asking for here? What do these people want? You know, first off, I want to say that the genuine misled generation, we'll talk about for a second here. We understand the demonically misled generation. These are the kids that are just out for blood, right? These are the kids that have nothing to lose, no parents in the home, smoke, drink, do drugs, live on social media, right? These are the kids out there, you know, that grow up on Lil Uzi Vert, Young Thug, and all this nonsense. You know, these are the kids out there that just have nothing to live for. They have no respect for life. They have no respect for themselves. They're formed and created monsters in a sense. And it's not necessarily their fault. It's just the way of the world, and it's a result of society. It's a result of many things. And we don't have time to really break down all those things down. But I think I kind of go over it enough of it in my videos. So I think one thing, it's not just the black community. It's all communities. I think we're really falling away from being interested in life and interested in anything at all. Now our interests just come from these phones, you know. And it's sick, man. So let me show some more videos here. Let me show before we go on to that next thing. Let me show a couple more videos here. So here's an example of some peaceful, I guess these are peaceful protests. So this peaceful protests do exist, right? We're not saying everybody are animals and everybody is, you know, part of this this bad apple group, right? Let's see here. Hopefully we don't get any buffering here. This is in Las Vegas. This is in Las Vegas, and it's just peaceful. Just people walking. No violence. And just people walking, right? I guess this is kind of what protesting should be. Bring some of that down. And honestly, holding up the fists, you know, it's all symbolism, right? Most of these kids have no idea where all of this stuff comes from. They just see it on television, right? They don't even read it in books. They just see it on television, and they're just reenacting all of this. But at least it's peaceful, right? I can respect that. There's nothing wrong with protesting. I just don't think it's very useful, right? So that was in Vegas. So there are areas where protests are happening and it's not violent. People aren't looting and breaking into property. Okay? But let's just talk about some of this, the genuine misled generation, which we could say a lot of these people they're genuine, you know? Hey, and some of them might just want to get out on a Saturday night and have a good time, maybe pick up some chicks or meet some guys. You know what I'm saying? Dressing up and with their matching facial masks, right? A lot of this is all social at the end of the day. A lot of this is social. A lot of people are like, hey, this gives me the excuse to get out of the house. right? I have an opportunity to get out of the house and engage with the world. I could see that. But at the same time, it's not about George Floyd. It's not about the plight of the black community. At the end of the day, all of this stuff is just turned into ulterior motives of individuals and of elite organizations, right? This intersubjective experience, right? That's all this is really panning out to be. There's no justice involved. There's no positive social change involved for anyone here, right? It's either a momentary situational thing where people are just trying to enjoy themselves for once, or it's this release and outlet for anger and frustration and rage, or it's the combination of these things forming a movement for a larger, organized new world order, right? All of these things playing out together for one ultimate goal, which is unbeknownst to those involved, to a degree. So these genuine people, I still say that, you'll hear people crying about, oh, poor black people, they killed a black man. But these people they do nothing for the black community. They have no interest in anything political. They do not do any type of activism. And when I say activism, I don't mean getting outside holding signs. That's not activism to me. Activism is actually contributing to the community somehow. I am not an activist. I don't have that in me. Okay, that's just not my skill set. But activists are those that actually go out and create active movements within specific communities. They start programs. They actually physically create change for individuals and families and communities. They know the communities. They work with the communities. They work inside the communities. That's real activism. Now, everyone's not going to have the time or the concentration or know how to do that types of things. I understand those roles take specific individuals. I'm not saying everyone that wants to have some kind of moral argument has to be that level of activist. But what I am saying is they should, if they're gonna have enough attitude and enough emotional sentiment to get out in the street and march and do all of this and that, I would think, or at least I would hope, that they have some familiarity with the community that they're aiming to fight for. And I would hope that they've done something in their life prior to that would explain that. Like, for instance, they actually know a little bit about the black community. They actually know a black community or a family or something. But in a lot of cases, these people don't know black people. And they getting out here virtue signaling because it's about them. What they're doing is they're projecting, right, onto the world their pain, right? What they're doing is they are co-opting the pain or plight of one population for an opportunity to express their own. And we're all in pain to a degree. This is the world. This is life. Right? We all suffer here. Part of life. But another part of this is the selfishness of man, where we use other people's pain to appease our own. And at the end, it's narcissistic. It's just a different type of self-gratification, right? It's making yourself feel better about who you are because you have this underlying insecure feeling about yourself, or you're just mad. You find the world undesirable, unlivable. You don't know how to engage with the world anymore. This just gives people an opportunity to let out all their anger and frustration. So it's a different type of self-gratification, similar to the demonically misled generation, which their self-gratification is just getting some shoes or getting an iPhone or, getting some gear and selling it and making some money coming up. You know what I'm saying? So we get that self-gratification, or, just going viral, taking a video, going viral, right? But even some of these genuine people aren't genuinely involved with the black community, and they've never probably even spoke out about black oppression until they saw this on CNN or something, or they saw everybody else speaking out. They saw it trending on Instagram. So now they're following the memetics and just circulating this nonsense. And the more they circulate it, the more they believe it, the more they become part of the movement. And then before you know it, the spirit just consumes them. And they're just in it. They're proxy warriors themselves. And they've never even thought twice about the black population or the black community outside the parameters of CNN or mainstream media. Right? Anything that's not on mainstream media, women and children in the black community that are being killed on a weekly basis aren't in mainstream media. They're not out on CNN. They're not out in the front on social media every day. So they don't exist. Nothing exists outside of that screen. This is indicative of the nature of this generation. And this also proves that they do not authentically care about people. Because if you cared about people, you would actually be doing something. You would be knowing something about these communities. But you only know what you're fed. And that's the majority of these people now. There are real activists out there, of course. But I'm saying, I'm encountering a lot of these people and I just laugh at them because I know this is BS. You don't care about the black community. What are you even talking about? You just want to be part of something. You just want to be part of a movement. It makes you feel something. It makes you feel like either you're a good person or you just like the energy or you're just mad and you're angry. And this whole thing appeals to that spirit. A little bit of all of that. That's what we're seeing. So a lot of these people you see out marching and doing all of this and kneeling and, all of these people that probably have never even, people that would never really put their lives on the line for a true movement. They're just doing it because everybody else is doing it, right? The spirit of the crowd. Crazy. So what's your conclusion here? What do you want out of this? You ask these people, what do you want to happen? What do you want to happen? What do you expect? Well, they want to destroy, first off, a lot of them don't have an answer. Right? They don't know what they're doing. They just want to destroy things because they're mad. Then you'll have individuals that will be like, we want to close down law enforcement or something, get rid of cops. You'll hear a lot of this. You will. So what? Then you're asking for feudalism then? What, are we just to go back to the dark ages? Right? To local militia? Is that what it is now? Or are we going to just have gang warfare, basically? And some would say we already have that. And that may be true. But you're just going to trade one form of gang warfare for another. That's, I'd say, a lot more lethal and less secure. So they have no solutions, these individuals. There's never been any real solutions. Because the solution really boils down to relying on the external, relying on the system to change for you, when that's just not reality. It doesn't work that way. There's too many variables involved. Systems, they're huge. They're connected to so many different things. There's economic things, financial things, social things, cultural things. There's so many arms in a society. You can't expect all those arms to work in a way that aim to appease your specific needs for your specific group. There is a point where all of us and our groups have to figure out how to survive within that society, within that system. You have to learn how to survive within the system despite its disadvantages and challenges. And certain people will have more disadvantages and more challenges than others. Like we're born into certain communities. We're born into certain situations that are disadvantaged. What are we to cry and scream and kick and exclaim that, look, you need to fix this. I don't like my situation. It sucks, and you need to fix it. That's pretty much what the argument is here. That's pretty much what the argument is here. And it gets nowhere. It lacks self-awareness. It lacks accountability. Nothing comes of it. And then you get this whole movement. Yeah, we're mad. There's you get all these non-blacks who want to use the black plight as an opportunity to create destruction. Black people have been suffering and so much has been happening for so long, This has to stop. Now we're going to join and we're going to rage out. And now it's like we're entitled to abuse. It's like this license to abuse. It's immature. It's detached. You know, the younger generation today, they're kind of detached from reality, as we've explained. And there's this derealization, you know, they're living in a virtual reality. So they're not really engaging. So it's easy to see why they act this way. This atomized lifestyle creates a dissociation. So it's hard to get to the younger generations today in any real, authentic way. So that's where the problem lies. And that's why it seems like this is going to get a lot darker. And it's going to take darker turns very soon. Yeah, so let me show you these things. So you get the argument, you know.
What's behind me is why we're here. We're not here for you. We're here because of the fire. Right? We're here because of the
I don't know if you guys can hear this.
We hear you. Okay, we want to hear you.
Hey, he admitted. Hold on, real quick. Don't go nowhere. He admitted, in his opinion, Chauvin, the racist, bitch-ass, coward-ass cop, he admitted that he feels he murdered him. He did say that. He admitted he feels he murdered him. And this is the chief of police. From the video he saw, he said he was killed in cold blood. No bottles. Hey, no bottles. Do not throw anything.
Okay, so what I find interesting here is, first off, you see an example of police with people, with protesters that are getting along. They're even clapping for these officers here. There's clearly a type of understanding going on here. There's a peaceful, mature kind of situation we got going on here. I could appreciate this because this shows some reasonable people here, especially from the other side, right? This kind of protesting group. So, again, it seems like all they want to hear is some type of acknowledgement. And this is a part I struggle with here. It's like, okay, he acknowledged that it was wrong and that he murdered him. It's like they just want to see people. It's like this eye for an eye or this justice thing where they want to see people punished, right? It's not that they really want to change the black community. It's not that they really want to end what is perceived as this kind of systemic or historical abuse. It's just they want this man to suffer. And they want people to acknowledge that he should suffer. You know, they're not actually sitting down and organizing and discussing what the problems are and planning out some type of way to change the situation long term. It's all short term. It's all reactionary. It's all momentary. It's in the present. You know, it's absent of any true thought. It's ignoring the past. It's disregarding the future. And it's playing this momentary present state, like just freak out, right? And basically, it's like, okay, you say you're sorry, you punish this guy, or we're going to burn down every city. I'm just trying to explain the nature of this. And I'm trying to describe how irrational all of it is. Also, I'm trying to describe how this irrational behavior and perspective is actually contradictory and it's counterproductive to any real change. Many of these people out here that think this is the right thing to do, and maybe they don't agree with violence, but even their arguments, even what they want to see is useless. What, you want an apology? What, you want the guy to burn? You want him to get, to fry in the electric chair or however they do it these days? Will that fix everything for you? It's this whole eye for an eye thing. It's empty. Is this going to change anything? Even if you kill this officer, if he goes to jail and he's executed, I bet everyone would feel better. Even some of those kids I posted some clips from some scenes in my recent video, and a lot of these kids, because they're kids, man, they're not even 25 years old, and they're like, you know what? Why can't he just be prosecuted and go to jail, basically? If you just put him in jail, all of this will stop. And you think about that, and it's like, that doesn't fix this alleged problem, this alleged systemic and historical problem that everybody's whining and crying about. You're just taking this man's life. It's very immature, is the point. Very childish. Like, you hit me, I'm going to hit you back. And I'm not even going to discuss why you hit me or why I'm hitting you back and possibly all the ways we can maybe keep this from ever happening again. Because I just need to fulfill my emotional need at this moment right now. And once it's done, I'll forget it ever happened. And watch, it repeats again. And it repeats again and again. You see the cycle? This is the state of the youth. This is the state of the current generations. This is their thinking process. And it's mad. It's mad. And this is leading our future, guys. This thought process is leading our future. It's shaping our society. It's crazy. So I got more here. All right, check this one out. We're going to be wrapping up soon. Dang, we've been on for 2 hours. Okay, here, we're going to be wrapping up very shortly. So check this out. So here's another one. Here's another one. Just another, I want to show some positive clips. You know, these are some positive clips of cops that are actually coming out. And again, how much of this is real? How much of this is psyop? I guess we'll never really know, right? I'm just trying to be fair with some of this coverage.
The only reason we're here is to make sure that you got a voice. That's it. There we go. Don't think for a second that he represents who these cops are from all over the county and around this nation. We go out there to help people, not do that nonsense. There we go. I just want to tell you, where's my man? Right there. Where's the gentleman?
Oh, I think he took off.
Okay, yeah, my man.
He took off.
Pastor Hawkins, I'm just going to tell you, we want to be with y'all for real. So I took my helmet off and laid the batons down. I want to make this a parade, not a protest. You got little ones here, you got dogs, so what's up? So listen, I'm just telling you, these cops love you. That cop over there hugs people, so you tell us what you need to do.
Walk with us! Walk with us! Walk with us! Walk with us!
You see, so, you know, I'm just kind of trying to give an example that it's not that law enforcement in general needs to be removed or something. It's not some inherent thing about the institution or the social or political, or it's not the structure per se, because we all need law enforcement. We need a type of, we need this. Any society needs this element, all right? It's pretty clear. You're first people are going to call if you get robbed, or if your home is burglarized, or if you're assaulted. You're going to call the cops. Okay, you get rid of the cops is actually extremely immature and lacks insight. But my point is, there's bad people and bad groups in any organization, right? So they're trying to make the argument, especially CNN and a lot of the mainstream media, they're trying to make it out as if all law enforcement is corrupt. And some could say, hey, well, it is corrupt, actually. If you look at how it originated, you know, if you look back far enough, you could see that law enforcement came out of different groups that would catch slaves, you know, and these types of things. I would say that that's a type of genetic fallacy, but people make that argument, and they say, you know, well, there's the eternal, or what is it, the fraternal order of the police. You know, there's a whole Masonic component of law enforcement, and that's true too, right? So it isn't to say that this organization is completely corrupt, because there's good people that work in it. And if this is legit, this gentleman right here could be a good example of one of these just average guys that's doing his job, and he thinks he's doing the right thing. Okay, I'm just trying to be fair here. My point is, we're being manipulated to think in a black and white type of way, when there's a lot of gray in a lot of this. And I think with the lack of understanding, this kind of low level of reasoning, in general throughout culture and the population. We have no way to figure, we have no way to see that, you know, there's more to the picture. There's more ways, there's more angles to perceive all of this. We're being sold this one-sided, or should we say two-sided story, when there's much more to it. So, it's interesting. It's interesting. So let's see here. I got, okay, now I want to kind of get into, I have a few other things here. Now I want to get into the unfortunate results. The unfortunate results of this thing here.
We do have Ben Henry with us now right now.
Hold on, let me check this
Yes,
out. Okay, this is kind of sad, man. And this is a result. This is a result of this. And again, I do understand this is a result of that more demonic, misled faction, right? These are the bad apples that are causing this. And maybe we shouldn't expect them to think through what they're doing, right? Maybe we shouldn't expect them to actually attempt to see, or maybe they don't have the capacity to realize the results of their, or the aftermath of their destruction. But earlier I made the point that a lot of this rioting, even a lot of this protesting that is inevitably going to turn into riots because of the people behind them, they lack insight, they lack control, they lack self-awareness, and they have no accountability because they feel that they're victims. So that's the problem with victims. There's no accountability there. So they have the license to destroy. They have the license to abuse, right? It's this kind of selfish, childish, and infantile type of perspective. So maybe we shouldn't expect them to be able to see these things through. But as I stated earlier, there is a consequence to this, and it becomes a counterproductive thing. And in fact, it starts to present itself as an Ouroboros, where it eats its own tail, and it circles back right around and actually hurts the communities they aim to be fighting for. And this is a pretty good example of this here. So this is kind of sad, man, but this is what we're dealing with, man.
We do have Ben Henry with us now right now. Yes, there's Ben. All right, Ben, tell us a little bit about where you are, and I heard you've been talking to some people in that area.
Yeah, I'm by the 5th precinct, and there's a lot of emotions. I'm joined by Stephanie right now. Hey, Stephanie. I've been hearing your frustrations, and I would love for you to share them with the community right now, because you and so many others are going through such a rough time. How was last night?
Scary. I live in the high-rise right back here, and I seen them as they came down Lake Street. But then they turned and started coming over here, and I'm sitting out looking out my window. And they went straight to Office Max, the dollar store, and every store over here that I go to. I have nowhere to go now. I have no way to get there because the buses aren't running. These people did this for no reason. It's not going to bring George back here. George is in a better place than we are. And last night, I'm going to be honest, I wish I was where George was, because this is ridiculous. These people are tearing up our livelihood. This is the only place I could go to shop. And now I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have anywhere to get there.
I know you mentioned, being in your home last night, and you did have some folks that were helping, holding the ground. And you see some cleanup right now as well. There are signs of hope, but I can see the frustration still.
When the National Guard came down 31st and they realized that they were coming down 31st, they tried to run in the building where I live at. And they couldn't get in because there was security there, and I'm glad they were there. Because if they had got in that building, there's no telling where they would have hid to stay safe and try to mess with us inside the building, because we're handicapped. And I'm not trying to use handicap as a crutch, but there are certain things I can and cannot do. And for them to do what they did last night was just stupid. It was ignorant. Now what are you going to do? Where are you going to shop at? Half the people probably don't even live in Minnesota. They don't care.
Yeah, so it's sad to hear this kind of thing, you know. Think about this. For those of you that believe we should get rid of law enforcement, or all cops are bad, or police officers are useless in society, who is this woman going to look for to help her, to give her some assistance in this situation? Or we could say in a different situation, say she's being robbed. You know, someone's breaking into her home. Who is she going to have to protect her? Who's the first person that she's going to reach out to that will provide some security for her? There's a point here. There's a need for this. And of course, there's always bad apples, right? In every side of the issue. But this is disturbing because this movement, this protest has turned into a riotous movement that is now jeopardizing those in the communities that are apparently suffering most. You know, this poor woman had to, you know, all the places she shops now are destroyed. I don't have to explain it. You guys see this, man. You can make this out for yourself. This is wrong. Okay, this is absolutely wrong, and it's disgusting. And the people, the most vulnerable people, black and white, you know, those that are elderly, those that are handicapped, those that are stuck in between this thing. Look at this. Spraying all over these people's homes. You know, look at the anarchy sign there. You know, it's just it's reckless abandon, man. And we are going to be our own worst enemies. And we are going to call on the end of all of these things. We're going to bring it on ourselves. And it's all supposed to be done for, you know, some altruistic thing. And it's just, this one was tough to watch, man, because just not right. Just not right. So
Stephanie, thank you so much. And I hope you find some peace. You and your family tonight.
It's just, this is sad.
Brandy.
It's sad. So, and then I got another one here. Here's another one. This is a result of this. This one's real quick here. I'll just pull it up here. I don't have to. Let's see. There we go.
Today, we found Corboy Bala, who invested his life savings into opening this sports bar, cleaning up. While our camera was there, looters came back to try to steal his safe.
Right, trying to steal the safe.
I don't know what we're gonna do. We worked so hard to get here. So hard.
Yeah, you see that? He worked so hard to get there, right? You know, it's like he spends his life trying to, oh man, I just closed that out. Crap. He spends his life, you know, trying to build this, and it's just, you know, and he watched.
One of the worst places to be during the height of the rioting here in Los Angeles.
What is this? There we go. Curfew in effect. See, getting these curfews. Oh man, this is crazy. This is crazy. Lockdown. We're all locked down. Can't go outside after 8 p.m. Nuts. Sorry about that. So let me bring this next one up here. Oh man. Yeah, so you know, the guy, he didn't, you know, black man, business owner, and he suffers from this. Now, I want to take you guys back. Let's go back to 1992. Okay, this same thing happened. Same thing happened during the Ronnie King situation, and we're just seeing it happen all over again. So check this out.
Los Angeles was inside a commercial building, any building, but particularly inside a liquor store. And that's exactly where we are, in a liquor store. And Charles Jones is in his liquor store, and that's where he says he will stay until the rioting is completely over.
Remember, we're not going to be here later, so make sure you got what you need.
Charles Jones opened his Compton area liquor store located deep inside the riot zone, knowing full well the danger. It was inescapable.
It's been a long day, and it could get longer.
Jones says his business was spared because he has respect and a good relationship with the very people in the area who were rioting.
I was happy to see my place standing.
But all around Jones's store, other businesses, large and small, weren't so lucky. We watched a stunned shop owner standing by helplessly, visibly shaken and unable to protect his clothing store.
What can we do?
Hey!
We thought being a black business would survive it, but like I say, what can we do?
I mean, how does it make you feel to be here seeing this happening?
Oh! Well, it makes you mad naturally because you work hard to build something up. And, you know, your own people destroy it, so.
Excuse me, what do you think they're after? What is it that they're after?
At this point, I don't think anyone knows what they're after. I think that they're just caught up in the moment.
Well, I understand the frustration, I'm sure, like everybody else, but, you know, this hurts. This really hurts.
They vandalized, they took everything. They really trashed the store. That was about 4 o'clock this morning. I came down. All the merchandise was taken. Bars were broken, windows were broken. So they took things out, everything out.
How do you feel about that?
Right now, I'm numb.
Put the fire out! Put the fire out! Put the fire out!
Business after business after business was helpless to stop the onslaught. If it wasn't looters, it was fire that shut them down. Fire after fire after fire kept breaking out all over the city, primarily in businesses, and businesses which probably will not be able to reestablish themselves once the riot is over.
This is an extended edition of the morning show and Front Page. We feel the community needs this.
A local radio station owned by Stevie Wonder fielded a full day of calls as people tried vainly to make sense of what was going on.
So basically, this is we're seeing exactly what, you know, we're just seeing the continuation of this, basically. That's it, right? We're just seeing the continuation of this. We're seeing the same result. And it's sad because all of these people. Actually, let me jump in the chat here. Diamond says, can you give us the link of the video you don't want to show? I think it's important to see the truth of what's to come. Yeah, I could send you the link. Hold on a second. It's really disturbing, you know. I'm just gonna warn you. Definitely something. Hold on, let me just pull it up here. There's just so many videos popping up left and right because, see, this thing is happening everywhere, guys. It's everywhere. Every major city is having their own version of this, and it's creepy. It's creepy to see the spirit that's like an egregore, you know, just traveling and possessing every community. It's like they all have the same spirit of hatred and anger. And some of their anger is warranted, but their reactions to it are wrong. And I would even say the reason it may be warranted, but it's misunderstood. So I think a lot of, especially the youth today, these younger people, they misunderstand reality, of course, which we've explained. But they misunderstand history, and they don't know history. And the history they've been taught, the narratives that they've learned, have all been wrong and flawed and false, right? So their reactions, this warranted reaction to the history and the narrative is wrong because it's a reaction to a narrative, right? Here we go. I got it. It's completely flawed. So now there's two videos. There's one of the guy running like the opening. So apparently this guy had a sword. Okay, apparently this man had a sword, and he was swinging it at one of these kids, chasing him, right? And then a mob just totally starts just beating the brains out of this guy, and it's really hard to watch. I had both clips. Now for some reason I only have the main clip, which is I have the main clip here, which is pretty much the aftermath. So I don't have the part of him running. I don't have that part, but I do have the main clip of the attack clip here. And this is going pretty viral, and apparently this guy is in critical condition. He's still alive. Hold on one second here. I'm sorry, I'm taking forever. I'm just gonna send the link here. This is, I don't even know who this person is, but there you go. All right, so let me put the link in here so you guys can check it out. Again, it's extremely graphic, okay? So I'm just warning you now. That's why I didn't want to show it, because I'm not trying to be responsible for people's reactions to such imagery. But it's just real. It's just what's going on right now. This is just part of it. Yes, herd mentality, exactly. That's all this is, you know. But it's multifaceted, you know. We have this provocateur, this literal agents that are involved, that are being paid, that are being bussed in, you know, dropped off into these areas, paid and promoted, right? Oh yeah, Saran C. Let me get that for you. I think I closed that one, but let me pull it up for you. I'm gonna get it for you. Hold on one second here. I'm gonna get that for you right now. Sorry for the dead air, guys. I just gotta handle some of these things. Let me get that for you. I think it's, here we go. Yeah, there it is.
I can't believe that.
Here we go. Let me just this. All right, so I'm gonna put it in the chat now, okay? All right, so that's the clip of the look like Antifa girls putting in the spray painting the BLM on the wall. That's the link that I just put right now. It's no guts and gore, Sonia M, but there's this guy's leaking all over the concrete. It's disturbing, man. It's disturbing to see anyone beat like that. I don't care what the situation is. But this is what we're seeing, and it's gonna get worse. I really can see more actual death happening if this continues. If it's allowed to continue, man, oh man. Like I said, let there be a martyr. Let there be someone who dies in the by the hands of a cop on accident. Most likely will be on accident. Oh man, these crowds, these herds, they're gonna go crazy. They're going to want blood, and then they're going to start really hurting people, and they're going to hurt innocent people. There's actually some footage of people going into apartments, as the woman said that I showed you earlier. She was saying, yeah, people were running away, and they were trying to go into our apartment, but they couldn't get in because of the security. So imagine when people start going into other people's properties. And I've already seen some footage in LA of people robbing apartments. It's not just stores anymore. They're running up in people's apartments and robbing them. And again, this is a certain group. It's a certain facet of individuals that are using this as an opportunity to, you know, make money or come up or whatever. But yeah, people were justifying the guy getting beat up. Exactly, introverted Nigerian girl. Good to see you, by the way. That's absolutely what I read in the Twitter feed. People are saying he deserved it. He was swinging a sword. If that's the case, maybe you shouldn't be swinging swords at people, but who knows the context? Maybe he was protecting his property, you know? Maybe he was protecting something. I don't know. But what they did to the man, oh my goodness. Oh man. One was murdered in Lancaster, California. A 70-year-old man, says COVID-19 5G. Wow. Wow. No way. We're gonna hear more and more of this stuff. We're gonna hear more and more about this stuff, unfortunately. It seems to be the case. Let me see here. Where are the rest of my videos at? That's just disturbing. I'll put it in one more time for those that might have missed it. This is the beating here. Did you get that, Saran C? Can you let me know if you got that link? So that's the beating right there. I'll send that other link if you guys need it. Actually, I already closed it, so I hope you guys have it. Yeah, it's unfortunate that this whole thing is being hijacked by the worst, the lowest. You know, I hate to use the term, but like the scum of the earth right now are really leading this, and it's unfortunate. And there's a lot of people involved. You know, we could put the blame on a lot of different things. He was trying to protect his business. Exactly. That's what I thought too, introverted Nigerian girl. That's exactly what I thought too. Oh, you're welcome, Saransi. Good to see you, by the way. You're very welcome. Yeah, he was. That's what I thought. He was trying to protect his business too. You know, he probably messed up when he went after the kid because he made himself vulnerable to being attacked by all the others. He should have just stayed behind his doors. You know, but hey, you know, I don't blame that. Actually. Right on, Diamond Earth. Yeah, it's hard to watch, but it's reality, man. If you guys want some raw reality, just try not to let it affect you. Try not to let it, you know, put hate in your heart for these kids, you know, because it will easily do that. Trust me, I'm already getting ideas, you know, like sometimes you just want to like kind of group up and grip up, you know, and go out there and handle some of these kids, man. But that's not the right thing to do. And unfortunately, it's going to happen. We're going to see local militias come out and start protecting their property. In fact, there's already been some. Where is it at? I think I got one. There's already been some word of that. Local militias coming together. Yeah, with a sword. Frequency, good to see you. With a sword. The man had a sword, which is kind of interesting. Ran out there with a Bushido. Yeah, is he a samurai or what? Right? I think it was a machete, actually. People were calling it a sword in the comments, but I think it was a machete. Melissa Benitez says, how do you use the sword of the spirit, the word of God, in this spiritual warfare? Well, really, wow, I guess speaking it, I guess, is really the only thing we can do, right? Putting it out there and praying that God softens the hearts of those that hear it. Really, you know, Grateful Temple. The sword is the word, exactly, and it really comes down to the Father at the end of the day. You know, I mean, we can do all we can to put the truth out there, but all will play out as it's supposed to. Yeah, they're killers with no conscience one day. I agree with you. Unfortunately, they've been driven to this. And I'm not trying to say, you know, they don't play a role in this, but it's a multitude of things I've tried to explain here today. But yeah, you're right. There seems to be this killer mentality, this just bloodlust, you know. King Sort of Boss says, because of the riots, there will be 10,000 new COVID cases, more lockdowns coming our way. Exactly. I think they're going to use this precisely for that. I don't think he died, Naomi. No, I don't think he died. From what I hear, he's in critical condition. But yeah, they were beating him with skateboards and just stomping on him. It's just crazy, man. It's really crazy. This is really getting out of hand. Last night was bad. I got a bunch of footage. I'm going to be putting together a video. I've been trying to crank out videos for you guys. I'm going to be putting together another one where I kind of show some of the aftermath of this and some of the riots and some footage and imagery from last night. I'm not really sure exactly how I'm going to approach it. I don't know exactly what I'm going to say about it just yet, but I do have a ton of footage. I've been spending so much time just logging so much stuff because this is history. This is history in the making, and I want to try my best to be a source of alternative perspective in all of this, right? So I'm working hard for you guys. Just know that. Let me see. I had one more video that just really touching, man, and I want to show you guys this one, man. I think did I delete it? Man, I think I deleted it. What did I do? Hold on a second, guys. Let me see here. Did I delete it or what? Delete. Oh, that was a good one. Okay, it's fine. I can look it up. Real quick. So this is another video from 90s and the aftermath of the 92 riots. This is touching here, and this really demonstrates what we're gonna see more of. Where is it? Come on, it was so easy to find earlier. All right, got it. All right, this one hit me, man. This one really hit me hard. And we're gonna see. We're already seeing it. I showed you a video earlier of a guy today, that was crying and hurt because these kids went into his business. A black man, a small business in these. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these kids that went into the business weren't even black. And some of them might have been, of course. But you know what I'm saying? It's like this is beyond race. This is beyond. This isn't about George Floyd. This isn't about George Floyd at all anymore. So check this out. Check this one out. I want to try to show you. I want you to be able to read what he's saying. Possibly you could see it now. Why isn't that changing? All right, I'm going to try to play this. Hopefully this plays without buffering too much. But this happened this is 1992 LA riots. The black business owner confronts looters in Los Angeles. Check this one.
That's not right! That's not right what y'all doing! I came from the ghetto too! Same as all of you did!
He said, I came from the ghetto too. The same as all of you did. There's some captions here, but I can't. Hold on. My screen isn't capturing it. I'm going to try to adjust this live. Hold on one second. I'm going to adjust this right now. I want you guys to feel that at least. I'm going to run it back. There we go. All right, check it out.
That's not right! That's not right what y'all doing! I came from the ghetto too! Same as all of you did!
Y'all need to listen.
But y'all mess up my business! And you call it black power! You mad at the white man? Why destroy my business? Why destroy my truck? Why steal my computer? I'm trying to make it. Could you understand that? Can't y'all see it? I'm trying to make it. That's not right. That's not right what y'all doing. I came from the ghetto too. Same as all of you did.
Y'all need to listen.
But y'all mess up my business. And you call it black power. You mad at the white man? Why destroy my business? Why destroy my truck? Why see on my computer. I'm trying to make it. Could you understand that? Can't y'all see it? I'm trying to make it.
Yeah. You see this? This is already happening now. In the same kind of way. And we'll probably see more of these types of videos. More, more demonstrations of this, right? This is sad, man, and it's a spirit, and it's no different. It's just a spirit, man, and it's really sad to see things take this type of turn. And what it does is it removes the credibility of any credibility the movement had, right? Just turns it into this Ouroboros, where the serpent eats its own tail, you turn against your own, that man just watched his entire, some would say, life just vanish before his eyes. He says, is this black power? Is this what you call black power? I mean, that's just such a powerful scene. It doesn't get any realer than that. And this is exactly what happens when you let the wrong people form and foment movements for you. And what I mean is this I would say, this tiny hat controlled liberal movement that is being formed for black people, that has no real concern about black life, about black communities. Right? This is what happens. You got all these people out here, black and white, thinking they're doing something, thinking that this is the proper way to handle this. And unfortunately, many people are going to suffer. More people are going to suffer because of it. And then you see these young kids thinking this is the right, what else do you want us to do? So entitled. So entitled. Most of these kids have never worked a day in their life. Don't even know what it's like to struggle. First world privileged children have no idea what oppression is. In fact, they're damaging further the older generations of the population they aim to be helping or fighting for. Disgusting, man. Disgusting. But again, those of us in the truth, those of us that understand the ways of this world, have the perspective correct. Meaning, we understand why this is all happening. We understand why so much chaos is unfolding. We understand why man behaves the way he does. We understand why cops beat and kill. And we understand why young individuals rob, steal, kill, and pillage. Right? We understand why all of this is happening. This is the nature of the world. Why would we expect any different? Right? Look who's in control. Look who makes the rules around here. Caesar. This is Caesar's land. So ultimately, this is expected. But we're human. We are flesh beings. So we are affected, and we can't help but be moved by some of these things, to be disturbed by some of these things, to be bothered, to want to see change, to want to see, something come of it. We can't help that. So, wow, we're almost going 3 hours now. I got to get myself out of here, guys. I just wanted to talk about some of these things, put some of this out here for you. Working on a lot of things on the other end. I'm going to be doing a exclusive Patreon shortly just gathering some notes. So shout out to all my Patreons, all those that have been supporting the show through Patreon and PayPal. I thank you guys. Much appreciated. All this. It feels good to see the appreciation for all the hard work. But we got a lot of work to do, a lot more work to do. And I am hard at it. I pray that you all know. So again, thank you for being with me. I'm going to get myself out of here. So much to do. And we have another night. I think this is night 6. Let's see if the purge continues. I'll be on the grounds in spirit reporting. So again, thank you all for being with me, and we will be back very, very soon. So be good to each other. Stay safe. Stay in prayer. Stay strong, right? Do know where all of this comes from and where all of this is going. We're just getting started. This is just the beginning. We haven't seen anything yet. So I want to end the show as always by saying all praises to the Most High God. In Jesus' name, amen and shalom.